There comes a day in every person's life when distraction stops working, when no song, no scroll, no stimulant can fill that quiet ache inside you. That's not weakness, that's your awakening. For years we've been taught to chase more success, more energy, more dopamine, more pleasure. But what if real freedom begins the moment you stop running? Because what we call comfort is often just escape. The brain is fascinating, Janny. It's not designed for constant happiness. It's designed for balance. Every dopamine spike must be followed by a dip. Every high comes with a low. And when you keep chasing only highs, your brain stops believing in balance. It starts believing that peace is boring. That's how overstimulation steals our ability to feel joy in simple things. Coffee loses its taste. Music loses its depth. Conversations feel dull, not because life got worse, but because your brain got numb. I remember one of my patients, a brilliant young man. He said, "Dr. Lembke, I feel nothing. I've achieved everything I wanted, but I'm empty inside." And I told him, "You're not broken. You're just tired of running from stillness." He looked at me with tears in his eyes, and for the first time, he didn't try to explain. He just sat there in silence, and that silence healed him more than any medicine could. Because sometimes healing begins not with action, but with acceptance. You see, your brain doesn't heal through more stimulation. It heals through rhythm, stillness, movement, rest, reflection. When you give your nervous system permission to breathe, it remembers how to balance itself. That's when dopamine finds harmony again. Not too high, not too low. And that's where clarity returns. Freedom isn't the absence of pain. Freedom is the ability to sit with it and not run away. It's when you can look at your phone and choose not to touch it. Look at your craving and choose not to feed it. Look at your anxiety and breathe through it. That's real control. That's real power, because control doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you understand them. And when you understand your triggers, your brain stops reacting automatically. You move from survival to self-mastery. Every time you resist escape, you're not losing comfort. You're gaining consciousness. Every time you choose stillness over stimulation, you're reminding your brain that peace isn't boring. It's beautiful. You begin to taste your morning again. You start feeling gratitude again. And you realize that the silence you feared was never empty. It was you, waiting to be heard. So today, make a promise to yourself, not to be perfect, but to be present. Don't fill every gap with noise. Let your mind rest, your body slow, your thoughts breathe. Because that's not losing time. That's coming home. Remember this, healing isn't a miracle that happens overnight. It's a discipline of awareness, practiced every morning, every pause, every breath, and one morning, without warning, you'll wake up and realize you're not escaping anymore. We live in a world that never stops talking. Every silence is filled, every pause interrupted, every emotion quickly buried under another hit of stimulation. We call it staying busy, staying productive, or staying connected. But beneath those words lies a quieter truth. We're terrified of facing ourselves. The noise we invite into our lives isn't random, it's armor. It protects us from our own thoughts, our own pain, and our own unmet needs. From the moment we wake up, we reach for our phones. Not because we need information, but because we can't stand the stillness of being alone with our minds. The moment something hurts, we scroll, we snack, we shop. Each distraction is a micro escape, a way to avoid the subtle ache of being human. Yet in that very avoidance, we lose our strength. The more we run from discomfort, the weaker we become in its presence. Real freedom doesn't come from removing pain, it comes from learning to sit with it. To stop escaping yourself is to reclaim the ability to feel without fleeing. When you sit quietly, no noise, no screen, no story, you begin to meet your raw self again. You notice how your heart races when you're anxious, how your thoughts spiral when you're uncertain, and how your body tightens when you feel fear. That's not failure, that's awareness. And awareness is the first step toward healing. We were never meant to be numb, pain, boredom, even sadness. These are not flaws in your design, they're messages. Your mind is asking you to slow down, to listen, to balance. When you stop running, the noise inside begins to settle, like dust after a storm. In that quiet, something incredible happens. You start hearing your own truth again. The things that really matter, the dreams you buried under routine, the strength you forgot you had, they all start resurfacing. It's not easy. Facing yourself will challenge every habit that kept you comfortable. You'll feel the itch to reach for your phone, the hunger for distraction. But if you stay, just stay, you'll begin to see what freedom truly feels like. It's not excitement or pleasure. It's clarity, it's power, it's peace. Real freedom begins when you stop needing to escape. When you can sit in silence and still feel whole, that's where self-mastery begins. That's where dopamine finds its natural rhythm again. And that's where you finally remember that nothing outside you can complete you, because you were never broken. You were just running too fast to notice you were already whole. In today's world, the line between pleasure and addiction has quietly blurred. We wake up, check notifications before we breathe, sip caffeine before we stretch, scroll endlessly before we even feel awake. The truth is, our brains are drowning in dopamine, the chemical that once helped us seek reward and survive. But now it's hijacked. Every ping, every like, every sugary taste gives us a spike of pleasure so quick, so powerful, that our nervous system doesn't even have time to recover. And yet, we feel empty. The irony is brutal. The more stimulation we chase, the less alive we feel. You drink coffee to wake up, but still feel tired. You watch your favorite show, but still feel restless. You eat for comfort, but end up feeling hollow. This isn't weakness. It's biology. Your brain has adapted to constant stimulation by numbing its receptors. It's like turning up the music so loud that after a while you can't hear it anymore. This is not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your system is exhausted. You're not missing something external. Your brain is simply trying to protect you from overload. But here's the hard part. When everything feels dull, your instinct is to seek even more stimulation to feel alive again. It's a trap, the dopamine trap. And it feeds itself endlessly. Healing begins not with more excitement, but with intentional stillness. When you stop flooding your brain with quick pleasure, it rebels at first. You'll feel restless, irritable, bored, like you're missing something vital. But what you're really feeling is your brain recalibrating. It's remembering how to feel small joys again. The warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of breathing, the taste of water after thirst. These are the sensations we've traded for the artificial highs of the digital age. Overstimulation makes the world flat. You start needing more to feel less. But when you slow down, you begin to notice details that once passed unnoticed. The texture of silence, the subtle emotion in a song, the peace in stillness. That's when life starts to regain its flavor. You see, you were never meant to be constantly entertained. The brain needs balance, highs and lows, noise and quiet, stimulation and rest. Every time you choose presence over impulse, your dopamine system resets a little more, and that's the path back to natural joy, not the kind that burns fast and leaves you empty, but the kind that grows quietly from within. So no, you're not broken, you're simply numb from too much noise, and the cure is not more, it's less, not faster, but slower, not external, but internal. In a world that keeps telling you to do more, the most radical act is to simply stop escaping, stop chasing, start feeling again. We spend most of our lives running from silence, as if it's something dangerous, something we must fill before it swallows us whole. The moment the room gets quiet, we reach for our phones, turn on music, or find something to do. We've been conditioned to believe that silence means loneliness, that quiet means absence. But what if silence isn't emptiness at all? What if silence is the place where awareness finally returns home? Think about it. Your mind has been running at full speed for years. Constant notifications, responsibilities, conversations, fears, goals, all pulling your attention outward. Silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the absence of distraction. It's the space where your thoughts stop fighting for attention and begin to settle, like dust floating gently to the ground. In that stillness, your mind starts to reveal what's underneath the noise, not chaos, but clarity. When you sit in silence for the first time, it feels uncomfortable. You'll feel the itch to move, the impulse to check your phone, the sudden flood of forgotten emotions. That's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something real is finally happening. Silence acts like a mirror, showing you the thoughts and feelings you've been avoiding. And while it might sting at first, it's also deeply healing. In the quiet, your brain begins to reset its rhythm. Science calls this down-regulation, the nervous system's way of recovering balance after overstimulation. Your stress hormones begin to fall, your dopamine levels start to stabilize, your breath slows down. Your body stops fighting for survival and starts learning to rest. It's in these quiet spaces that creativity returns, that intuition whispers again, that the world begins to feel vivid and alive, but we resist it because silence feels like loss. We've built our identities on constant motion, being productive, being social, being busy. So when everything stops, we feel like we disappear too. Yet that disappearance is an illusion. Silence doesn't erase you, it reveals you. Beneath the noise, you find the one who has always been there, calm, aware, enough. In that moment, silence becomes sacred. It transforms from something you fear into something you crave. It becomes your sanctuary, not a void, but a homecoming. You begin to see that the answers you've been chasing were never out there. They were waiting in the quiet, whispering softly, asking you to listen. Silence is not emptiness. It's fullness. It's the breath between thoughts, the space where your spirit exhales. It's where your awareness finally remembers itself, not as chaos, not as noise, but as peace. So next time you find yourself alone in the quiet, don't rush to fill it, sit with it, breathe into it, because that silence isn't your enemy. It's your soul calling you back home. We often think self-control means saying no. No to sugar, no to screens, no to distraction. We see discipline as resistance, a constant battle between what we want and what we think we should do. But here's the truth. Real control isn't about fighting your impulses, it's about understanding them. You can't master what you don't understand, and you can't heal what you keep suppressing. Your cravings, your impulses, even your habits, they're not random. Each one carries a message. When you crave that late-night scroll, that extra bite, that escape, your brain isn't trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you. Somewhere inside it's saying, I need comfort, I need relief, I need to feel safe. The problem is not the craving, it's that we keep answering that need with the wrong medicine. When you suppress what you feel, you're not erasing it, you're just burying it deeper. And buried emotions don't disappear. They resurface as anxiety, irritation, fatigue, or even addiction. But when you slow down long enough to notice your urges without judgment, something powerful happens. Awareness replaces automatic reaction. The moment you become the observer instead of the participant, the craving loses its power. You've shifted from being driven by dopamine to directing it consciously. Control is not about deprivation, it's about direction. When you understand why you reach for what you do, you create space between impulse and action. In that space lies your power. You can choose differently, not because you're forcing yourself, but because you see clearly that clarity is real freedom. The brain's reward system is not your enemy, it's your compass. It lights up when you're curious, when you create, when you connect, but when we feed it only artificial rewards, quick pleasure, instant validation, it gets confused. It forgets what true satisfaction feels like. Relearning that is the art of healing. Every time you pause before reacting, your brain rewires a little more. You're teaching it that pleasure doesn't have to control you. It can serve you. Think of self-control as a conversation, not a command. Instead of saying, stop craving this, ask, what is this craving trying to tell me? That question alone changes everything. It turns shame into curiosity, frustration into wisdom. You stop being your own enemy and start becoming your own teacher. Real control is quiet. It's not the loud, rigid discipline the world glorifies. It's gentle awareness, the kind that meets every impulse with compassion and understanding. It's not about suppressing the wave, it's about learning how to surf it. When you master understanding, control becomes effortless. You no longer fight your desires, you guide them, and that's where peace begins. Not in perfection, but in awareness. We often imagine healing as a single moment, a breakthrough, a revelation, a day when everything suddenly feels right again. But the truth is, healing doesn't arrive in an instant. It unfolds slowly, quietly, in the smallest choices we make each day. It's not a miracle that happens to you. It's a discipline you build within you. Real healing begins when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start showing up for yourself in imperfect ones. When you choose to breathe through discomfort instead of escaping it. When you forgive yourself for slipping and still try again the next morning. Every time you do that, your brain rewires a little. Your nervous system begins to trust that safety isn't found in control. It's found in awareness. Neuroscience tells us that every thought, every choice, every moment of mindfulness leaves a trace, new neural connections forming in your brain. That means every pause before reacting, every moment you choose calm over chaos, is literally reshaping you. Healing isn't magic, it's repetition. It's awareness practiced daily until it becomes second nature. But it's not easy. Some days you'll feel strong, present, grounded, grateful. Other days you'll fall back into old patterns and feel like you've failed, but you haven't failed, Janny. You're learning. Healing isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. The journey is not a straight line, it's a spiral. Every time you return to awareness, even after falling, you come back a little wiser, a little gentler, a little freer. Awareness is the medicine. It's what allows you to notice your emotions without being consumed by them. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to observe the rise and fall of your impulses, to meet yourself where you are, not where you think you should be. When you live with awareness, even pain becomes a teacher. Anxiety shows you where you're holding on. Sadness shows you what you truly value. Cravings show you where you still seek comfort. Awareness turns every wound into wisdom. Healing doesn't ask you to erase your past. It asks you to understand it. It doesn't demand that you become someone new. It invites you to remember who you were before the world taught you fear. You start realizing that peace isn't something you chase. It's something you practice, breath by breath, moment by moment. So no, healing is not a miracle that falls from the sky. It's built in silence, in patience, in daily awareness. It's built when you choose reflection over reaction, gratitude over guilt, understanding over avoidance. Healing happens when you decide every single day to come home to yourself. And the more you return, the more whole you become.